Hey guys, it's Sandra with Conversion Minded, and today I have 5 ways to get massive traffic from Pinterest. First, I'm going to share the 3 big mistakes that I see people make on Pinterest so that you don't make them too. Okay, number 1, the first mistake I see people making is I see them treating Pinterest as a personal account. What you really want to do is you want to treat it as a business account. Totally fine if you already have a personal account, you can switch it over to a business account. And then make sure that you're starting to create boards that are relevant to your niche, that your audience would be interested in, and make sure you're filling them up with pins that they would really want to click on. If you have those personal boards, you can still have a couple of them if you're switching it to your business account. Just make sure they're a little bit further down in the feed. You want to be telling a story to your potential customers, and that story should be really all about your business. The other thing you can do is you can have a separate personal account and a business account. So if you already have a personal account and you want to keep sharing a lot of your personal pins, that's totally fine. Just go ahead and create a second business account that you can use for your business. The second mistake I see people making is they're treating Pinterest like any other social platform, like Facebook, like Instagram, and it's really so different than either one of those platforms. It's really kind of in a category of its own because it's kind of a social media site, it's kind of a search engine, it's kind of a social bookmarking site or a scrapbooking site. I think that you're going to be safe if the way that you think of Pinterest is really as a visual search engine, because you have to back out of it and look at the way that people use the platform. So when people are on Facebook, they use Facebook to get updates from their family and friends, to see pictures of their kids and grandkids, and kind of stay in the loop on their friends and their personal things. They really don't like to see businesses popping in with links taking them out of Facebook. But Pinterest is different because people are on Pinterest to look for brands, to look for products, to look for ideas, for look to how-tos. So people are really kind of in a search mode or also have a buyer's mentality. So when they see your content, they actually like to see it. So it's not interruptive. They're actively searching for it. Just think of it as a search engine. You're going to be on the right track with your strategy. Okay, mistake number 3 is people are sharing crappy pins. Now, I say that very lovingly. I think it's really hard to kind of figure out how to design a good pin, but I think if you look at it as Pinterest is a visual search engine, that's the big difference between Google and Pinterest, is that really people, the first thing they're seeing is not just a title or a headline and a little description, a meta description as they are in Google. You have that visual component, and that's really got to tell the story because we don't even have descriptions in the feed. We don't have that. It's the title of that pin and the visual that goes along with it, and that has to make people want to click through. So you really do have to design pins that really pop, that stand out in the feed. Use colors that are going to kind of blow away your competition and make people just go to your pin immediately. Look at pins on mobile, look at pins on desktop. Mobile is where most of the traffic is coming from. Try to get an idea of the pins that are jumping out at you and then model yours after that. That's what I like to do. So think big headlines, big titles, really bold colors are what's going to jump out in the feed. So those are the 3 mistakes, and now I want to lead right into the 5 ways that you can get a lot of traffic from Pinterest. Number 1 is you want to make sure that you optimize your account. So by optimize, I mean it's a combination of the title of your account, the name of your account should have keywords in it, the description of your profile should have keywords in it, your boards should have their own relevant keywords in it, and also your pins. Every pin that you share should have keywords in it. Now, in terms of where you find those keywords, I know a lot of people have asked me whether you should find the keywords in Pinterest, whether you can use Keyword Planner or research tools that you would use for Google. And you can certainly use those other keyword research tools, but your best bet is to just use the guided search in Pinterest to find your keywords, because that's where it's kind of self-contained here. People are using those search terms on Pinterest. So use Pinterest for Pinterest. The second thing that you can do to get loads of traffic from Pinterest is to create multiple pins for every piece of content that you have. So if you just recorded a new video and you want to drive traffic to that video, create 5 or 6 pins for it. If you only have landing pages for free products or even your sales pages, create multiple pins. And I'm talking a lot of pins. You can create up to 10 pins. People can get crazy with the amount of pins that they share. And if you have the time to do it, you can create even more than that. But just know that you don't want to think just 1 or 2 pins. You're going to have multiple opportunities to drive traffic. It's going to look like a fresh pin. It's going to be a fresh pin. And because Pinterest really does rely on content creators for their user base, to keep their user base engaged. So they support brands creating content. They like to see fresh content. So the more content you share, the more your rating, your overall domain score is going to go up in Pinterest. And that means they're going to favor your pins. They're going to show them to more people. Now, your fresh content, optimally, it will be really original, a new post or a new video or a new landing page. But barring that, certainly creating multiple pins, that does count as fresh content. So make sure that you're doing that. Number 3 is to use templates, because kicking out multiple pins can be really time consuming if you're starting from scratch every time. So use templates. I have my best viral pin templates in the description here. The link is right there. Make sure you check that out. If you're creating your own templates, certainly that's the way to go. You can use Canva, you can use Photoshop. They're going to have your brand on it. You're going to have your logo, and they're going to be a variety of templates that you can use for everything that you create. So let's say that you're going to create 6 templates. I would say maybe one of those would have, let's say, a color overlay, and another would have a separate color overlay. Maybe a third one is white with a frame around it. Maybe a fourth one you have like a subtle image in the background that you kind of ghost over with just a monotone black and white, just kind of give it a subtle background there. And then maybe 2 should be infographic style. So what do I mean by infographic style today? It used to be that you could go really deep and people could just be kind of obnoxious and hog up the feed with super long infographics, but that's not the case anymore. But it doesn't mean that you can't do them. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing them. You should be testing your own accounts, your own pins, to see which ones perform best for you. What I've noticed is infographic style definitely trump just plain text pins, because you're telling a story. It's a visual story. You're telling a story, and people are seeing immediately what it's about, and they're inclined to share it. Now, will they be as inclined to click through on it? It kind of depends on the topic. I've had some cases where that pin just gets like repinned so many times, but I don't get that much traffic. And then I've had the other case where it's repinned 1,000 times, hundreds of thousands of times, and I do get tons of traffic. So I think it depends on the topic there, but either way, engagement on Pinterest is, we're talking repins and we're talking clicks. So when you start getting those repins, even if people don't click through, that's an indication that you're sharing high quality pins, which means that Pinterest is going to favor any pins that you share over other people who don't have that engagement. So that means that your pins are going to be shown to more people. So keep that in mind. You definitely want 2 of those to be infographic style. What I like to do is I like to have my standard pins be 2 to 3 ratio. So a 600 to 900 or an 800 by 1200. And then for the infographic style, I go deeper. I do a 1 to 2 ratio. So for me, that would be 800 by 1600 pixels. And I do another one that goes even deeper depending on the content and what I want to convey. So you can use that as a guide. Pinterest is not completely favoring these longer pins anymore, but I still get the most engagement even from fresh pins, from those longer pins, because people just tend to repin them and want to click through on them a little bit more because they tell people about what the pin is about. And that's what you should keep in mind when you're creating your pins. Which leads me right to number 4. What you should be doing is really making sure that you have compelling titles and visuals on your pin, because you want to get those click-throughs. And this is one of the reasons that infographics really do shine, because you're telling people what that pin is about. So the more that you can indicate why people should click through, the more they're going to click through and repin. So when it comes to your titles, you really do want to think of them as mini value propositions or USP. Now, you may have heard of that as it relates to your overall brand and maybe the messaging that you want to have on your website, but I think that we're really missing an opportunity not to apply value propositions and that concept of a USP to all of your marketing, including your pin headlines. They should tell people what it's about and why they should click through. So for instance, if you have, let's say, a title idea and you want to create a pin around about 5 travel apps, because that's your blog post, you can just say 5 travel apps, or you can say 5 travel apps for a super simple itinerary abroad. Which one do you think people are going to be more likely to click on? Definitely the super simple itinerary, especially if you know your audience, you know that they're planning vacations and they want to know what to do and they want you to make it easy, right? It's just so much more compelling, because this one, I don't know why I should click. So you always have to be telling people why they should click through, because you have to think people are busy. There's a lot of other pins for them to look at. So why should they click on yours? Don't forget the why. Okay, that leads me to number 5, and that is to share your first pin to the most relevant board. So even if you have what's called a brand board, if you're familiar with that, if you're kind of like old school Pinterest like me, I have a brand board, and it used to be that that was the first place I shared my pin. Well, that's not the case anymore. Today, when you have a new pin, you want to share it to the most relevant board. Preferably, it's your board, a personal board. And then secondarily, it can be a relevant group board if you're in groups. So make sure that you do share your first pin to a board that's already indexed for the keyword that you want to rank for. That's going to help Pinterest index it much faster. It's going to help you show up in the feeds faster. It's going to help you in search results. It's basically going to help the performance of your pins overall and help you get more of that traffic. So those are my 5 tips. I hope you guys have found them super helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. And don't forget about those pin templates. They are really going to help you out. Grab that. The link is in the description here. If you've liked this video, you want to see more like it, please subscribe to my channel. I'm really working to build this up again, and I could use your support so that I can keep popping in with videos for you to help you on social media, email marketing, products, courses, selling out your courses, webinars, all of it. I hope to see you guys soon.